Hello everybody, Sorlian here, and today we are looking at hire purchase. And at the end of this video, you should be able to do a few things. One, you should be able to calculate the hire purchase of an item. Two, you should be able to calculate the total amount of money that you'll pay after you go through the whole process of hire purchase. And then you should be able to compare the price that you pay under the hire purchase agreement as opposed to buying the item cash. Now, before we head into the terms that you would commonly see in hire purchase, let's talk a bit about hire purchase. Now, the whole gist about hire purchase is if you want to buy an item and you cannot afford to pay for the entire item, what you do, you go to the store, you make a down payment on the item, and then you and the store, you come up in an agreement that you'll pay equal amount of installment for a certain amount of time. And then at the end of when you finish, at the end of this period that you all decided, then you will own the item. That's why it's called hire purchase. Your hire is basically you're hiring the item until you can purchase it. So let's head into the key terms that you would come across commonly in hire purchase. The first thing is the cash price. Now the cash price is the cost of the item that you will pay without going through the whole process of hire purchase. For example, if you want to buy a car and the car costs $4 million and you go and pay that $4 million, that $4 million is called the cash price. Now the next term would be the deposit. Now the deposit is the initial payment that you make in upfront before the installments begin. So before you go and pay each monthly installment, you must pay a deposit. For example, if a car costs $4 million and you cannot pay the entire $4 million, what will happen? You will pay a down payment of probably $500,000 and then you'll pay monthly installment. So that $500,000 that you paid initially, that is called the deposit. And the next term would be the installment. Now the installment is the regular payment that you make probably each month over a period of time. Most times it's monthly, sometimes some stores do it weekly, but in our scenario, we'll do monthly. And the next one is the hire purchase price. So the hire purchase price is the total amount paid, including the deposit and the installment. So after you go through the entire period by paying all the installments, you add up all of that plus the deposit that you initially made, and that will give you the hire purchase price. Now the next one is the interest or the hire purchase charges. Now the interest would be the extra money that you pay as opposed to buying the item cash. So if, for example, a car again costs $4 million and at the end of the hire purchase, you pay a total of $5 million, that extra $1 million, that is called the interest. That is the extra money that you pay because you had to go through the hire purchase route. And that is only fair to the business owner because you're not paying the money full, you're paying it part-time. So that is as it relates to all of the terms that you would commonly see when we work hire purchase. So let's look at some formulas. Now the formulas, they're there, but most times you can just read the question and answer it without these formulas. But to find hire purchase, it's the deposit plus the amount that you pay for each installment multiplied by the number of installments. And then the interest would be the hire purchase price subtract the cash price. So let's head into our first example. The first example says a fridge costs $800 if bought on cash. Under a hire purchase plan, the buyer pays a deposit of $200 and make 12 monthly installments of $60. Calculate the hire purchase price and interest paid. So the first things first, let's look at the hire purchase price. So we see the hire purchase price, hire purchase would be, so we see the man has a down payment, he paid a down payment of, or a deposit of $200. So sometimes the deposit is called the down payment. So it's $200 plus, we see he paid $60 for each month for 12 months. This would be 60 multiplied by 12. So this will now be 200 plus 60 times 12 will give us $720. So we add up this, we'll have a total of $920 higher purchase price. And then the interest paid, so the interest paid would be this higher purchase price, subtract the cash price. So the interest paid the higher purchase price, subtract the cash price, which is $800. So this will give us 920 subtract $800 would be $120. And that would be the interest paid. So we can see that if you buy this fridge on hire purchase, you will pay an extra $120. So let's look at another example. So this example says, an iPhone has a cash price of $400,000. Under a hire purchase plan, the buyer agrees to pay 12 monthly installments of $35,000. Now, if the total hire purchase price is $500,000, calculate the deposit amount. So we have a few things here. We know that the cash price is $400,000. We know the monthly installment we see was $35,000 and they paid that for 12 months. So let's calculate the total monthly installments first. So the total monthly installment would be $35,000 multiplied by 12. So 35,000 multiplied by 12 would give us $420,000. So we see the $420,000, that is the amount of money that they pay in installment. So to find the deposit, we just subtract this from the total hire purchase price, because we saw that he paid, the hire purchase price was $500. So we know we get the hire purchase price when we add up the total monthly installment plus the deposit. So we just subtract this to get the amount of deposit that the man made for this iPhone, or the buyer made for this iPhone. So the deposit would be $500,000 subtract $420,000. So when we work this out, we will get a value of $80,000. So we see that the buyer made a deposit of $80,000. And if we add up this $80,000 plus the monthly installment, we'll get the higher purchase price, which is $500,000. And that is how you work out this question. So let's look at another example. So this one says, a television has a cash price of $1,000. Under a hire purchase plan, the buyer pays $250 deposit and then 18 monthly installments. If the hire purchase price is $1,300, calculate the monthly installment amount. So just now we found the deposit. Now we want to find how much is the monthly installment. So this approach will be similar. So we see that we have the total hire purchase, and we also have the deposit. So to find the total, the monthly installment, so the total monthly installment would be, so the total monthly installment will be the $1,300 subtract the $250. So when we subtract 1,300, when we subtract 250 from that, we'll have a value of $1,050. So this will give us a total monthly installment amount. So if you want to find how much money they will pay, how much money the buyer will pay each month, we saw that he made 18 monthly installments. So to find how much he paid each month, so the monthly installment for each month would be 1,050 divided by the 18, and this will give us $58.33. So, and that is how much money, that is the amount of money that he will pay, or the buyer will pay, for each month. But we know that the total monthly installment, when we add up all of the monthly installment, we must get 1,050. And if we want to take the bit further and see how much he will pay for each month, how much equal installment he will pay for each month, it will be $58.33. So let's move on to the next question. So this question says, a refrigerator costs $800 if paid in cash. When bought on hire purchase, a deposit of $100 is required, followed by 12 monthly installments of $65. How much is saved by paying cash? So we must find the hire purchase price, and then we will determine how much we save by paying cash. So I will use HP for hire purchase. So the hire purchase would be, so we see that they have to make a deposit of $100. So it's 100 plus the 12 monthly installments of 65 times 12 would be $780. So when we work this out, we will get a value of $880. So this is the amount of hire purchase price. To get the amount of money that is saved by paying cash would be, see, the amount saved would be equal to, so we see that the hire purchase price, which is $880, subtract $800, and this would be $80. So you will save $80 by paying cash for this refrigerator. Now let's move on to the last question. The last question says, a sofa has a cash price of $900. Under a hire purchase agreement, the buyer pays $150 deposit and then 18 monthly installments of $50. Calculate the hire purchase price and the interest paid. That is one. And then what is the percentage increase from the cash price to the hire purchase price? So that is two parts of this question. So the first thing, let's calculate the hire purchase price. So I'll use HP for hire purchase. So hire purchase would be, so we see the deposit of $150. So down payment of $150. This is $150 plus we see they have to make 18 monthly installments of $50. This is $50 multiplied by 18. So this will be 150 plus 50 times 18 would be $900. So the hire purchase price would be $1,050. So this is the hire purchase price for the sofa. So the interest would be the $1,050 subtract the $900, and this would be $150. That would be the interest, that is the extra money that you pay if you buy on hire purchase as opposed to paying the cash. So that answers the first part of the question. The next part says, what is the percentage increase from the cash price to the hire purchase price? So let me work that right in the corner here. So the percentage increase from the cash price to the hire purchase price would be, so we know the interest is 150. So it will be the interest, which is 150 over the original cash price, which is $900. I will multiply this by 100. So this zero cancels with that zero. This zero cancels with that zero. So 150 divided by 9 would give us 16.67, approximately 16.67%. So that has brought us to the end of this video. So one thing we saw that hire purchase is you pay a deposit, you put a down payment, plus you pay a monthly installment for a certain amount of months, and then you add up those two, and that will give you the hire purchase price. And most times, if not all the times, the hire purchase price is always greater than the cash price because you have to pay longer. And it's like you're hiring the item until you can purchase it. So I trust that you now have a firm understanding of hire purchase, and I'll see you in the next video.